Welcome back to the show. My name is, of course, David Scales. This is Surf Splendor, episode number 571. Skater, surfer, artist, filmmaker from Dana Point, California, currently residing in Bonny, Doon, California. Thomas Campbell began shooting photographs at age 11. Within 6 years, his photos were being published in skate magazines. 10 years later, he took a position as photo editor at Skateboarder magazine. And it's during that time that he finally forayed into film with a 17-minute black and white skate short called A Love Supreme. It was also, incidentally, the very first film ever produced by the brand Supreme. The success of that film connected Thomas to Joel Tudor, who encouraged Campbell to make what would become The Seedling, his first surf film, shot entirely on 16 millimeter film. 5 years later, he followed up with The Sprout, and then 5 years later again, he followed with The Present. From my humble perspective, this trio of films was instrumental in breaking the myopia of high-performance thruster surfing that dominated how the surf industry spent money and showcased surfing. Certainly, that style of surfing that Thomas showcased was always being done, but the popularity of those films effectively alerted brands and magazines that the surfing public had a much broader appetite than what they were focusing on. And in the subsequent 20 years, we've all benefited tremendously from a much wider range of surfboards available, media that's being produced, and just surfing that is on offer. Campbell has also found success as a studio artist with paintings and installation pieces shown in Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, Sydney, Tokyo, Sao Paulo, and Paris. In 2011, Campbell founded Yeah Arts. It's a multimedia or multi-platform production company for books, film, and music. From 1993 to 2014, he was creative director and co-founder of Galexia Records in Santa Cruz. This new film that we'll be discussing today that you've probably seen advertised is called Why Woe, and it's been over a decade in the making. It just wrapped up a tour of screenings, and it's set for release on October 10th. It features surfers Ryan Birch, Craig Anderson, Alex Nost, Karina Razonko, Joel Tudor, Nick Mellinson, Lauren Hill, Dave Rostovich, Ozzy Wright, Jared Mell, Ry Crakey, Trevor Gordon, and Bryce Young. And it was shot on location in Fiji, Morocco, Indonesia, Costa Rica, Australia, Hawaii, and California. Also shot on 16 millimeter film. So before we hear from Thomas about the film, let's do a quick acknowledgement of our partners who make Surf Splendor possible. Of course, this is the Surfrider Foundation, Veyer Watches, and Real Water Sports. Real Water Sports is hosting another Chicama trip. If you want to go, it's a group. They're doing 2 weeks, 2 1-week trips. So they're going to have not only everybody who's attending, but then coaches coming for surfing and for foiling. It's in March 2026. You can watch the video that they produced from last year's trip. It's really actually enticing. Gives you an overview of the trip and the wave and what to expect. Go to realwatersports.com to learn more about those trips. And then, of course, they're an incredible resource for surfboards, 1,500 surfboards in inventory, and anything that you might need for any water sport. Go to realwatersports.com. The Surfrider Foundation, because the ocean needs more friends. So become a member at surfrider.org. I'm proud to say we're doing a podcast together that I'm producing and hosting. We just released an episode this week on their climate action program. I'm learning a lot. I find it to be super educational, and I've enjoyed the process. So if you want to learn more about that, go to Surfrider's YouTube channel. You can watch it directly there. And then, of course, go to surfrider.org to become a member. And then Veyer Watches. I've been friends with these guys. I've been wearing their watches for 6 years. I'm a huge fan. It's incredible to see the growth of the company, and I think it's directly related to the quality and durability of their fine watches. So durable, great value, and great looking. You can get yours. We'll save you 15% by going through our portal, which is veyerwatches.com/surfsplendor. So hope you enjoy that. Without further ado, my name is David Scales for Surf Splendor, and I really hope that you enjoy my conversation with artist and filmmaker Thomas Campbell.
Surf Splendor.
So I watched the film last night,
Cool.
and it was the closest visual representation I've seen to replicating the experience of surfing.
Yes. Awesome.
I liked it.
Tell me why. Tell me how that works out for you. I'm very interested.
Yeah. So, well, I was going to ask you, so maybe you could think about this while I talk, but do you think it's actually possible to replicate the surf experience on film? Because it feels like with anything else that we're taking photos of or shooting video of, that's exactly what you're trying to do. It's like, oh, my parents aren't here at Disneyland. Let me film my kids, send it to my parents so they can get a measure of that, you know? But I just always felt like with surfing, it's so the visuals are so one dimensional that it's very difficult to represent that. And as I was partway through the film last night, um, it was more of an immersive experience, I guess, even though it is one dimensional on the screen. The
Sure.
the poetry element of it, the music, all of it was um, immersive in a way that I guess the surfing experience is immersive. So you're
Yes.
not seeing it in three dimensions, but it just felt more like an experience of surfing, I suppose.
Mm. Yeah, I think that that makes sense. I mean, I would say that probably a good part of that, besides having some of the best surfers surfing in the way they do, is probably the this is just one of the aspects, but the musical composition. I would say that like especially the way you come into it, it has an intensity that like is kind of relentless and also becomes experiential because it's like you are you it's not letting up and the experience is not letting up. Like when you're out and really offshore windy days or whatever and it's all happening and you're just in all the things at once, maybe maybe that comes close to like getting you in that mode possibly. But I mean, I think there's a lot of different elements to, and a lot of it's unknown, right? I mean, that I think a lot of what I tried to do was I made try to make the whole thing unknown. Like you didn't know any of the music in the film, right?
No?
No. So, I mean, I think just just even that where there's no tangible like, oh, I remember, I know. It's like what's happening?
Why did you want to make it unknown?
Um, I think I just wanted, like you said, I wanted to make it wholly immersive. So you didn't have a relation to something you already knew. So you're going through this thing and it's all new. And you're able to have your experiences in the moment without ties to anything else. Hopefully.
We're going to go back to your origin story at some point, but let's stay on the film for a little bit.
Cool.
How, when was the process started? And did you have any sort of a vision for what the final product might look like when the process was started?
So actually the starting this movie was 11 years ago. And at the time, Chris Malloy and Keith Malloy and my then wife, Tiffany, and I were all going to do different parts and do a collaborative movie. And Chris and I were the spearheaders of the movie, and it was for like a woodshed film project. And Chris didn't end up, went off doing something else and didn't end up doing his part, and the whole thing kind of didn't happen. And but I did do my part, and I went to Morocco with Dave Rostovich and Lauren Hill and Ryan Birch and Trevor Gordon, and we got a lot of really great stuff. And so I was a little miffed by that, and and also really wanted to make good on making something with this great footage. And so I bought the footage back myself and then started making the film. Uh, I would. It was one reason. There's a few reasons why it was a long process. First thing was that I had another skateboarding movie that I was making at the same time, which is called Yield Destruction, and I knew in a timely manner that needed to be made before the surf movie because skateboarding gets older faster than surfing, especially the kind of surfing I document. So I had to finish that, and I finished that about 4 years ago. And then, but also the other part of it is that almost 9 years ago, I became a dad. So I didn't understand up until that point, until now, what that was. And so, anyway, long story long, uh, it took a really long time to get this movie to its end. And over that time, I just thought about it and I had ideas about it and I started working on it and almost like sculpting it. And then we started making music for the movie about 5 or 6 years ago with myself and some of my friends, Monty Valier, uh, Damon Way, and Caleb Gomes, most notably. And kind of started really aiming that music at the film, at the idea that I wanted for the film, and kept filming and I guess in the end, I feel like it's kind of something like a rock tumbler. Um,
Hmm.
and I put these jagged rocks in my brain 11 years ago, and I feel like that's one thing that this film has that probably most people don't have the luxury of having or don't want the luxury of having is like I sat with it and I tried everything. It took so long to figure out to make it look like it looks and have a pacing and do the thing it does. So, um, which I'm happy about. And and it's kind of like I feel like I've opened a new type of creativity and the type of films that I want to make. And I feel like this is the most prominent current example of that.
So music enters the process early before editing.
No, no, I was editing before and
Okay.
um and I have a little you can see it. You see my trailer out there?
Yep, like an Airstream.
Yep, or silver streak.
Okay.
Um, but I call that the Silver Burrito Studio. So we recorded in there somewhat, and then my other friend he has a nice studio in San Francisco, Monte Valier, and so yeah, I mean, it was a bit hand in hand. Like I feel like the beginning of making the movie was just getting the trips going and and then I feel like and then I told you I had being a dad and then the other film and then just starting starting to work on the music. So it was kind of hand in hand more or less, especially once I had more time, especially over like the last 4 or 5 years, to focus my vision on the new surf film.
Yeah.
And but we probably made about 25 tracks. Um, and the now the we kind of have a band. We've played live once, kind of it was almost partially karaoke, but it's called Cone Sank. That's the name of the group. And we'll probably make a record, I would imagine, next year of some of the material. But Yeah, it was fun. But it's interesting because like probably like you felt like the curation of the sound is is kind of all encompassing and kind of moving all in the same way. It
Yeah.
kind of never breaks, in a
Yeah.
certain way. And a lot of I licensed a lot of the music too. It wasn't that we made it all. There's this incredible band from England called Fuck Buttons, which had these two insane songs that are just like very unique to like one record. Like, they don't have any other music like them or like it besides on that record. And then some things that I really love, like Arthur Russell and oh, what else? Kind of some typical. Uh, there is some Tommy Guerrero and Ray Barbie on the soundtrack as well, but it's not as obvious, maybe because we kind of produced some of that music for the film. So,
Um, where does the name come from? Or what's the idea behind the name?
you know, uh, it was something that I came up with, I think while driving with a friend, and uh, you know, I just wanted something also again that was related to nothing. So, why woe is what this movie is, you know? The definition of why woe is what this is. So whatever experience you have is that's what that means to me. And I say why woe, but I like the fact that everyone says it different. And they're all, oh, is am I saying it right? And I'm like, no, like whatever you're saying is how it is, you know? So yeah, it's not any it doesn't have a meaning in specific, but I really liked that idea. Actually, I have a friend, his name is Fred Mortang, and he's a filmmaker that we've worked together in the past. He's in the skateboarding realm, and he made a movie called Manic Madi back in the day, and Manic Madi I think means enjoyment in Indonesian. And if you're a skateboarder, you say Manic Madi, everyone knows exactly what you mean. And if you're not a skateboarder and you say Manic Madi, you don't know anything. So anyway, I like the idea of like having something that what also wasn't related and then would just be attached to this film.
I want to talk about the surfing a little bit.
Sure.
It's not dated at all, given that some of the trips are from a decade ago. Like the surfing is still super relevant, super fresh. Um, I'm wondering if, as the filmmaker, you feel a certain pressure. I mean, to not mess it up, basically. You get this incredible stuff. I'm thinking especially the Birch and Ando sessions. Um,
I'm just stoked. Those are my favorite surfers. Like that's those combos and especially what you're talking about, like Craig and Ryan. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. What else do you want to see? Like to me, like some of
well,
that, some of that, I don't know if you remember, but you remember like Craig falls and then he like takes off on the next wave and he like goes to do a bottom turn and he's like has his hand on the deck and he's dragging his other hand on the dude, that's made me cry multiple times. Just that bottom turn. Because I'm just like, I mean, what? It's so beautiful. It's like the accumulation of everything forever right there, Like,
I totally agree. And you said, what more do you want? I felt that exact way until Rasta shows up. And I'm like, oh, yeah. I also want Rasta until Bryce Young shows up. And I'm like,
yeah,
Bryce Young
yeah,
encompasses all of it for me, you
yeah,
know? Not
totally.
not to stack, not to even rank them, but that was my experience watching it.
No. I I agree. I agree. They're all just such different flavors, right? You
Yeah.
know, like, and also like Rost is riding completely inadequate equipment in like way too big of waves. He's riding like a 511 and at that stuff at the end, but it's so the best. He's so, I mean, I love two few of the things that I love is I love how the movie starts. The kind of the main surfing starts with that wave of birch, like how it clicks in. And then I love after that part, the first time you see him is when he's like switching stance on the longboard and trimming. I love that dichotomy, like if you know who you're looking at. And then I really love the eventuation of Dave's material throughout the thing, being like Alaya, a little bit of shortboarding, a full matting part, and then like you just totally ripping the bag out of it in the end on sizable waves. And just
Yeah.
in his, he's just so masterful. I mean, yeah, he's so I'm extremely thankful to work with all of those people. They're 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 what I like to watch.
Totally agree. I for a number of them, I feel like we don't get to see enough.
Yeah.
There was a period of time early on where we saw a lot of Rostovich, and then more recently with Stab Magazine stuff, we've seen a bit. But I certainly don't see enough of Birch in really good waves. I don't see enough of Bryce Young, full stop.
Yeah.
Not enough of Craig Anderson anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So,
And he's still the best. You know? I mean, what young modern kid is does that?
yeah, I know.
No one.
Well, the question that I didn't fully, or the thought that I didn't fully form into a question a minute ago was like, you have a raw clip that just runs in real time. And so many people just put that on Instagram nowadays. And I feel like with that raw clip, like, especially if you witnessed it in person, you're like, this is gold. But there's a degradation once you publish it, especially on Instagram, that it just does not represent what was witnessed, you know? Um, and so that's where I feel like the filmmaking has value is adding a certain something to give it its proper kind of, I don't know, reverence or something. Um,
Yeah,
and
acknowledging the depth of our experience on this planet, what's happening. I mean, and that's kind of why a lot of the movies kind of centered around having questions about what we're here for, what we are. I feel like we get smashed into like a quarter or a half of a dimension with all our societal kind of compacting. And it's just like, what is this? And that's kind of what I think. Sorry if I cut you off. But that's what I think that this is for, is to like take time and be present and like experience these things. Like I feel like there's a aspect of this that is very punk rock in a response to Instagram. It's just like, oh, here's 6 minutes of slow motion surfing or matting or air shots. You don't have time for this. You don't like you don't have time to be here and acknowledging the depth of this experience. Why not? You know? And I felt that, and I pushed against that in this editing, I'm like, these are fantastic shots. Let it be, like the Birch and Craig parts, and just like let it roll. Like that highline shot of Craig or of Birch, you know what I'm talking about? That
Yeah, when he comes out of the barrel during that section, yeah,
yeah, then he highlines all crazy.
yep,
Dude, no one would put that in there,
no,
but it's like showed you something that no one you would never would see.
totally.
And I just thought it was so cool, like so anyway, yeah, I think in the end, I'm just excited about sharing. Like, I have the fucking best surfers, and I get to like show how incredible they are in such incredible settings.
Yeah,
And like even like the part where they're just like swimming and like that's it's from the top and it's just
on
like
the longboards.
no, the part it's in the middle of the endo part and it's just like a break and they're just like swimming and playing on the sand.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Like I'm just like, dude, this is too incredible. We were there,
yeah.
like wouldn't you like to be there? I mean, and I don't know. I'm just yeah, I'm thankful.
Good.
Yeah.
Um, Talking about how long and laborious the process was. How did you know it was done? When do you get to the point where you feel completion, or do you ever?
No, people have been asking me about that, like, and I think that it's just different people have different ways of doing things. People are like, "Oh, could you just never stop working on it?" And I'm like, "No, no, it's not that. It's just like it just wasn't done, and now it's done. And it just had to feel right. It just had to feel balanced, and it had to function. And like you said, like your response to me is like the highest accolade. Like when you're expressing that it made you feel the most like you're like surfing feels and you're going, dude, it took forever to figure it out. And I just kept with it and it's bold, like that shit, like the music in the beginning. I was watching it the other night for like a 45 person private screening for people that helped with it. And I was thinking like, whoa, this is asking a lot. That's what I was thinking while I was watching it with people. I hadn't watched it with that many people, but their response was pretty great, pretty like in, pretty intense actually. So
It is asking a lot of the viewer to sit still for that period of time and be in it, but it brings you in. My experience was I'll give anything a chance. And in 5 minutes, if I'm not, interested in it, then I'll consider leaving the room or turning it off or whatever. And this kept me engaged the entire time. So it asked me to be present, but it was worth it. There was a payoff.
yeah, cool.
Um, Kind of backing up a little bit to your origin story. You grew up in Dana Point.
Correct.
What were your parents doing there?
um well, I come from a big family. I have five sisters. And so my mom was a homemaker, and my dad, uh, at least while we lived in Dana Point, he was, well, he was multiple things. He became eventually like an administrator of a school district, but I think, you know, he played professional baseball, like in the minor leagues for the Reds and the Dodgers, and then when we were kids, he would just kind of he was a draftsman at Boeing and worked as a security guard at Strands at the at the trailer park and drove a water truck until he went off the cliff in the water truck when I was one. and got really fucked up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's a diverse resume.
Yeah. And then I think when I was 13, I went to his he got his master's. I went to his graduation when I was like 13. And then he was in the school district like Orange Unified as like uh administrator of facilities or something like that.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Um, did they have career expectations for you?
Um, I would imagine that I was just like, I don't know. I would imagine if I had to put it in a baseball context, which is not normally what I do, I would have been the knuckleball. Like I don't know. Think they were just like, what is happening with this kid? Because I mean, I just also, like I was kind of out in the middle of like I have older sisters and younger sisters, and 5 years on each side. So I was kind of out in the middle of nowhere by myself. I didn't go to school with my sisters, and in the end, I kind of found my family in like punk rock and skateboarding and kind of my community. And when I was a young kid, I was like making fanzines and skating, and I was surfing too when I was young. I grew up riding surfing Doheny when there was literally no one out, and riding longboards there and riding shortboards at Strands Point, and uh, those are kind of my go-tos. And but yeah, I don't. I think they didn't know how to deal with the curveball. They were like, "Wait, what?" And then, I was just on my own trip.
In that documentary, Beautiful Losers,
Yeah,
you mentioned being angry. What were you
sure.
as a youth? What were you angry about?
Oh, probably just not having that much of a connection, you know, being feeling pretty isolated, in my family, and just whatever, just the general angst of like not being seen, or six kids, man, that's just uh herding cats. And um in the end of the day, my parents did what they could do, and they weren't specifically bad parents. It was just like it's a lot of cats to herd.
Totally.
And so I'd imagine that's probably where the angst came from. And then I was kind of like right in line with that first movement of like a really large movement of punk rock in Orange County in LA in the early 80s. And I kind of slipped right into that. And that was like a pretty uh, powerful kind of mode to move through. So, um, yeah. And I was as dumb as you could get. It was great for a short time.
Can you identify like an impetus or an inception point for making art?
Yeah. Uh, I mean, I like everyone. Uh, everyone's an artist, right? When you're growing up, like everyone's drawing pictures or painting when they're a kid at school, or it used to be that way, uh, or at home or whatever. So I guess the question is, in the end, is like, when did you decide not to be an artist?
Hmm.
So I don't think that was ever a thing for me as much. But as soon as I got into skateboarding, there was like super good examples of people like Neil Blender and Todd Swank and like Chris Miller, like people that were professional skateboarders that drew their own graphics, and some of them took pictures, and some of them made music and fanzines. And, my friends and I were just like, oh, it looks like they're having fun. Let's try to have fun too. And just tried. It wasn't like we didn't have any, we weren't there just weren't any ley lines for going towards a career. So it was
Right.
just like that looks fun. Let's try to have some fun that way, you know. Which I feel in the end I feel really fortunate to have had many, many years without any direction towards a capitalist means.
I could totally see the value of that.
Yeah.
In regard to the capitalist portion, do you remember the first piece of art that you sold or the first time you got paid for it?
Um, I think so. I think and it was probably more the generosity of friends that were like probably liked what I was doing, but also realized I was probably financially struggling and they needed to help. I mean, I think that's also an interesting point is that, like I've been working. I started working on the fishing boats in Dana Point Harbor when I was about 9, scrubbing the boats, and then I worked in the office and some deckhand work. But from 9 to 19, and it's funny. I've talked to a friend recently, and he's like, "Oh, you know that people think you're a trust funder," and I'm like, "What?" Like, and whatever. If there was a trust fund, that would be probably pretty nice, but that's not the case. And but it's just interesting that people maybe because it appears that I do more or less what I want to do,
Yeah.
uh, maybe appears that that's how it is, but unfortunately, that's not how it is.
No.
No.
Well, what was the first piece you sold?
I I'm not positive, but I would say that it might have been something to my friend Andy Jenkins, who's a is a fantastic artist and primarily in the skateboard world. And I can't remember what it was, but I think he might have been the first one or one of the first ones.
Okay.
Because also, no one wanted to buy anything, like, and honestly, it wasn't that good for a long time. So, like, uh, yeah, but some of my friends have been helpful. I think I do remember once uh, I was in I was in Morocco surfing, and then I sold my surfboard and my tent and everything, and I went to the mountains and I painted for like a month. And then on the way back, I went through a bot with some friends, and I saw this gallery, and I went in and talked to the guy, and then I said that I was a painter, and that could I show him some of my paintings, and I did, and then he offered me an exhibition for the next year. It's a nice gallery too, and then he offered to buy some of my paintings right then, and he bought like I had no money then. I probably had like $5. And I think he bought two or three pieces, and I think I got like $500, and that I think that was the most that I'd gotten or something at that time, and it was really exciting.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Those those early experiences of somebody validating it. I mean, obviously the money helps, but the validation of the work is also like a propeller, you know.
Sure, for sure. 100%.
Um, what was the impetus behind the move to New York? And how did that time influence your career?
Um, Honestly, I was having exhibitions at this gallery there in New York, and over some years, and I'd fallen in love with this girl there in New York, and that was the only way that I could see it working. So I stayed, and I stayed for about 3 years, and then we moved out to California together, and yeah, it was interesting, like it was, I'm a very imagine the time, I was born in 1969 in Laguna Beach, and I grew up from birth till 19 in Dana Point in the same house. So I'm very much a mellow type Californian kid. And then going to New York and experiencing the really dog eat dogness of the situation was pretty eye-opening. I was just like, whoa, like this is a whole nother thing, So I mean, I'm glad I did it, and I know the city pretty well, and that's a nice thing to have.
What years were you there?
I was there from uh 85 to sorry, 95 to 98.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bit of a different New York City back then. Grittier.
Yeah. Which I thought, I mean, I liked it. I think it was I liked it more,
Really.
like yeah, I mean, yeah, I did.
Um, how did that influence your career? I mean, some of the intensity of it, did you thrive? Did you become more productive? Did you benefit from it in any way?
Yeah. I mean, I think just being in close proximity with a lot of amazing artists and seeing the breadth of what people were doing inspired me hugely. And yeah, just to be in the mix, just to be in the mix with all the different generations of artists and, you know, be like really on the beat of what was happening in music, and yeah, just to learn a lot of new things about different cultures and different kind of ways of living it was amazing. So, I mean, I can't say specifically exactly what the exact point is of like how it influenced my career, but it definitely did. And um, yeah, it was fucking great and heartbreaking and all the above.
You said you moved back to California. Was that San Francisco?
No, moved to Lucadia
Oh, okay.
because and I was the photo editor at Skateboarder magazine. And so I had to, that was in the surfer office. So I had to go, and I was the photo editor they did basically like, the big issue of Surfer. They did like the big issue of Skateboarder once a year. So I was in charge of making that issue 2 years. And like Steve Hawk was my boss basically. And like it was at a low ebb in like Tony's career. So Tony Hawk, his brother, was the editor. And then halfway through our first year, after our first year, his video game came out and there was no low ebb in sight. I think he became immediately uh, extremely wealthy and then never came into work barely anymore. And then I was the editor and the photo editor basically. Um, but so yeah, so and that's when uh mm, that's when I made the seedling.
Yeah. So what was the idea behind the seedling and why make a surf film?
Um, well, I met Joel Tudor, and like I said, my friends and I had all had grown up riding longboards, so I had an affinity with riding like old longboards and understanding it. And but I wasn't into longboarding. I was into like a certain kind of longboarding, and like I would go into the whatever 7-Eleven, and I all I had to do was like look at the cover of Longboard magazine and know that I didn't want to look inside of it because I just never liked high performance longboarding. And but anyway, when I met Joel Tudor around that time, uh, and started surfing with him, and I got to ride really good surfboards, which I hadn't ever got to ride before, like that. Donald Takayama boards. Yeah, and he knew of my work from skateboarding because he's a skateboarder, and and I think at some point he asked me if I wanted to make a movie, and I said yeah, and that's how that started.
I mean, given that you hadn't made any other films, it seems like an ambitious undertaking or a strong presumption for Joel to be like, hey, do you want to make a film? Did you feel equipped to do it based on your background?
Well, I had made other films,
Oh, you had.
so and especially I made the first film for the brand Supreme back in 1996 when I lived in New York, and it was set to John Coltrane's Love Supreme, and it was called The Love Supreme. And and he really loved that film. And it's obviously a very jazz inspired film and all on film. And I think from him seeing that was why he was inspired.
Is that where is that film available today?
It's out there.
It
It's
is.
it's
Okay.
probably on the Supreme website, or
Okay.
it's just out there. It's not hard to find.
Got it. Do you have any ambition to work in like a narrative film format, scripted?
Um, Not specifically. I would say that the next film, which I've been working on for like slowly for like 20 years, is a film with my friend. His name is Will Oldham, or better well known as Bonnie Prince Billy. He's a singer, um, maybe I may say one of the best, or one of the best songwriters. And we've been kind of slowly over the years working on this project. And he's also an actor. And so part of what we're doing will have part of it being in that realm. And so actually, I'm pretty excited about it. That's something that, and the good thing about it is he really loves this film. He really loved Why Well. I showed it to him, and which is perfect because he's like, yes. I'm like, yes, great. Okay, let's go forward. Because
Does he surf?
he tries sometimes. He lives in
Interesting.
Kentucky,
Oh, okay.
so it's not a focus of his life. But
Right.
he has surfed, and he he loves, like he had some music in my Sprout movie, and yeah, so
Um, when you say you've been working on it for 20 years, have you actually started shooting footage for it?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. We've so some of the footage is 20 years old.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, which is great.
Is it going to be like a feature length?
Yeah, yeah.
Fascinating.
And also just like, I mean, I guess also in the same way is what I'm getting at with a lot of this stuff is like it's also within reach of like being creative and not having to go outside and get like the more money you get from outside, the more less control you have. And like in the end of the day, like why will I fund it and and I have total control. And I went out to like Netflix and Criterion and all these different people to try to like see where it could live in the world. And they just wanted to tell me how I should change it. And I'm like, wait, um, you just watched my weird poem. You want to change how I'm writing my weird poem? Like, and do you think you know more about this than I do? You know, like, no, like, so, uh, yeah, anyway, um, uh, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited I really like this area of filmmaking though. Like, I really like where it's kind of doable uh, and it feels really like, um, it's impactful, but it's not like there's not too much of a budget to where you kind of like lose it and like your contractual things with other people. And yeah, I don't have delusions of grandeur. Like I don't want to be, I have friends that are directors in Hollywood and their whole lives are just like fighting to like have their vision be something close to what they want it to be. I
Yeah,
don't want to fight, like it's hard enough when you don't have to fight.
totally.
So, yeah.
Well, if you're doing it independently, um, is there a way to see a return on that investment in the modern era?
Well, I guess we'll find out.
What's the method? Just selling it on Apple and
No,
Vimeo?
I mean, in the end, probably what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, do this small tour, which is just 2 weeks, and then do a day of a day of online premieres, and then it will be on sale like on Vimeo for probably a year, but you just have to buy the whole movie. And yeah, I I have some friends that have done similar stuff in the similar space, and they've had some pretty good response. So I guess like in the end of the day, David, like I really just did what I wanted to do. And that feels great, like and so that's the biggest part of it. And I feel good and that's success to me.
Good.
So I would imagine I'll make my money back. Um, but if I don't, I'm not that worried.
You'll still make another one.
I don't know.
Uh,
I always say at the end of every one that I won't make another one.
okay.
This is probably the first time I said I don't know.
Well, I guess what I mean is the financial portion of it won't dictate whether or not you make another one.
It could. I don't know. Like yeah, but at this moment I'm not thinking about that
Yeah.
so much. So I'm just trying to get this one out the door.
Um, what's the story behind the name Bonny Doon?
Uh, I think it's a Scottish term. I
Is it?
don't, yeah, I think it's Scottish. But it's funny though that you asked that because I don't know the origin name. I think I might have once, but I don't know. I can't remember the origin story of Bonnie Doon. But also have you ever heard of a movie, an Australian movie called The Castle?
I love the castle.
Okay, but remember there's Bonnie, we're going back to Bonnie Doon in the castle.
I don't remember that
Okay,
now.
Okay, so anyway, any Australian that ever comes here is like, "Oh, mate, have you seen the castle?" Or if I talk to an Australian and I tell them I live in Bonny Doon, because that's a key point in the castle, and people are really in love with the castle.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I've seen it, so I don't
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
that.
yeah,
But my introduction to Bonnie Doon was just from the winery,
yeah. That's
Bonnie
like
Doon Winery.
that's like I'd give it a good just over a half a mile that way.
Oh, okay.
As the crow flies. Uh,
Um,
Pretty close.
well, I was when I was prepping for this, and I know you live there. I'm like, oh, I could just Google and find out where that name comes from, but I didn't go through that effort. I figured if anybody would know, you would know. So I'm kind of shocked you don't.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. I'll look it up later. What's your current relationship like with surfing personally? How often? All that stuff.
Um, I would say I probably surf about once or twice a week. And I have like really good boards. I have
I would
like
imagine.
I've worked on the boards that I have for a really long time. And I have five boards in my car and generally five boards. And those all they just work really good. And I don't have to think about them and I just get up and they go. And yeah, so I mean I would say a lot of probably yeah, I'd say probably ride I've been working on this model with Josh Hall for like 18 years or something. That's a glider model. It's just so good. Like I think I've had 25 different iterations over 18 years to get it to where it is now. Like personally, I've had that many that Josh has made, and the board's called a lace lever, and it's just like a really slimmed down version of of a glider, and they just work so good. I'm just like they continually astonish me, and so. But I ride everything from like whatever 6.6 to 10.10.
Um, who's who else are you getting boards from?
Oh, I could just tell you what my boards are. The boards in the car. The smallest one is like a ASIM tri-fin called the Cattywampus, another board that I kind of worked on with Travis Reynolds, which is kind of based off some of Birch's ideas. And then which is cool. It's basically like a fish, but like when you're riding a fish, you just go too fast and you can't change direction like when you want. You maybe don't go as fast. You maybe go like 75 instead of 85, but you can go where you want when you want. And I like to change directions. And then the next one's like a 710 Rush Short Bonzer that Malcolm made me. It's so good. If I had to have one board that could work in almost everything, that's really good. I feel like that style of bonzer really helps with when it has length because like a Rush Short bonzer has like quite a bit of fin, and I feel like the longer rail line kind of counterbalances it pretty well. And and then the next one is a 8.5 mid-length single fin that Travis Reynolds made, but it was based off of a board that Birch made me in Travis Reynolds Bay like 10 years ago. And that has a pretty interesting journey, but it's super good, really good. Just trims, turns, does a lot of cool things. And then I have a Tanner Prairie log that's called the Dash model. That's like a 9.6. super, just trims good, turns good. I don't, I can nose ride, but I don't really care about it too much. So it's not specific for that. And then the 1010 Josh Hall, Lisa LeVere. So those are kind of like the main ones. Actually, Ryan made me his newest version of that mid length. So when I go down to the La Paloma in a few days, I get to pick it up.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Y-
anytime you get a board from him, it's a day to rejoice.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, that's a diverse quiver that'll get you through, I would imagine, any day of the year, almost anywhere on the planet.
Yeah, and also one thing that I'll say about all those is they all have center fins.
Mm.
And I realize the older that I get is and like the less I surf is like I just feel like the center fin is way easier to calculate back into because it just gives you a center reference point. And I feel like I do like riding twin fins and quads, but I feel like twin fins and quads, you need more time on the board to like to be in sync with how they drive and how they go. And so I've pretty much taken all those out of my quiver, out of my basic workable quiver.
I will consider that advice. I've been almost exclusively riding twin fins for an extended period of time. Not intentionally, it's just those are the boards that I have that I'm interested in riding.
Yeah.
But
But
I'm
how old are you?
43.
I mean, we're all at different places, right?
So you're saying you're when you're older and you surf less and less. In the back of my mind, I have a thought that I will surf more in the future. This is just a temporary phase of my life where I'm not surfing a lot.
Yeah.
Do you have those same delusions, or has it always been a slow decline?
I mean, just seems like time, it's been a busy time
Yeah,
and I I hope so. I would like that, but I almost feel like it would take like a movement, like I would have to move from where I live. I think the hamster wheel has to be going too fast where I live. And I am not very into it. And so I'm scheming. So it would be nice. It would be nice to
okay,
be in the ocean more. But I don't know. I don't know if that will change. Like uh I feel like the boards I have are really suit me. And it would be nice if it could change, but I'm not seeing that in my near future.
got it.
Yeah.
What surf media do you follow nowadays?
Not a whole lot. I feel like me just what's more important is going surfing. And I mean, I like to journal. Yeah, I just think in general, most of the things out there are kind of like fast food, and it's not that inspiring to me. I think I walk a lot, actually. I have a little bit of I don't know if it's a high threshold, but like I go to like look at the waves and I think it kind of my low barometer is like I need a decent trim line or a decent turn, and without hopefully getting frustrated by the scenario. So a lot of times I look at it and I don't feel I can achieve that. And so I walk a lot, but I actually walk a lot, quite a bit on the cliffs, kind of just down the hill from my house on the ocean. So I like being in the ocean. I like being around the ocean. I think I think I've learned enough. And and I would like to be surprised and excited. But generally the current formats aren't the way that I'm that interested in engaging.
Yeah, I can relate.
I'm not trying to be super negative either. Like everyone can do what they need to do. I mean, I do participate in Instagram. That's part of my business. Um, but I don't know how fulfilling or healthy it is in the end of the day.
Less and less so every day, I think. Um, Speaking of Instagram, aside from any of the surfers that appear in this film, is there anybody who's surfing you admire? When you're scrolling Insta, you'll stop and watch and really appreciate.
Well, I wanted Steph to be in the film. Um, but at the time she wasn't available, or so the managers said. Um, but I love how she surfs. Um, I like what's his name? Ungi Lung or what's that guy's name?
Lungi Slab.
I love how bad I fucked that up.
Well, I don't know if that's even his
Lung,
name or if that's just the Instagram handle.
Lungi Slab. Yeah, I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. I mean, I think Tosh looks really good. I like his approach and uh, he kind of brings a lineage of style into what he's doing. So there are a few, but like, you know, that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm like, look at someone like Craig, you're like, fuck, man, you know, like who looks like that? You know? And
Totally.
and is like that dynamic and he's he's so gnarly, like he makes it look smooth and casual, but like, dude, you know, like he goes, like
I don't know if it was I don't think it was the exact bottom turn you're talking about, but there was another wave that he just goes so far straight out into the flats before he adjusts and make the bottom turn. And I'm like, dude, that's a legit serious wave that he's doing that on.
I think it was probably because his board was too small.
Yeah, maybe so.
Because like it was probably just like so out of control that if he tried to bottom turn before that, he would have slipped out. So he had
Totally.
to kind of like ride it out. I know exactly the one you're talking about. And it just goes, oh, behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, I couldn't be more thankful for those guys that they wanted to do it and we did it.
It's going to be tough to live up to the expectations. I've been waiting a decade. And I don't know when that Surfer magazine article came out, but when I saw like the quality of the waves and everything, I was like, "Oh my God, can't wait for this." But I somehow feel like you almost couldn't do it justice without that. It feels substantial. There feels like there's a bit of gravity to it. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being so supportive, and I'm really glad that the film resonated for you as it did. All right,
Awesome.
dude.
Thanks, Thomas.
Thanks again.
Okay, see ya.
All right, bye.
Surf Splendor.